Welcome, fellow painters and decorators of the interweb. It's Bill Beckwith back with another short. I'm trying to do some series of videos that are under 10 minutes, just to do a bit of a talkie. Remember last week we were talking about lining paper and the reasons for lining. I've had a few comments on that on the Facebook pages and a few little comments underneath the video that I did on YouTube. Quite interesting, but don't matter what you say, you've still got to line. So that's why you line. Right, I'm back in another room doing lining. It's all been lined. We've done spraying of the ceilings and we've sprayed all the woodwork. Just waiting for that to dry off. But I thought I'd do another top tip Tuesday. So we're talking about lining. So you line your walls and we're using 800 grade. And the reason I'm using 800 grade lining paper is because the paper that's going over is quite thick. Working with 800 grade lining paper is actually a nice grade of lining paper to work with. I'm not trying to improve the walls. I'm not trying to put a 1200 or a 1400, 1000 lining on to improve the thickness of the layer of the wall. I'm not doing that. I'm just I'm just trying to get a nice even surface to work on for when I'm lining. So putting something like 800 on is actually a nice thickness of paper to work with. It's not too thick. You can work it into the angles and you can cut it and use your blade if you want. I've always found to cut lining paper, it's always nice to use a pencil, screw it at the top with a pencil and at the bottom, then cut it with shears. You find that if it over soaks with your paste, trying to go with a blade, sometimes it can snag up and rip because that's just the nature of it. Your blade might be just going a little bit blunt and it pulls it off. So to eradicate that, just pencil, HB pencil, nothing too soft, nothing too hard, and then cut it with the shears. Hairdressers use scissors, decorators use shears. That's another top tip for you. But what I thought I'd just talk about, because I don't want to be 10 minutes on this. Right, when you've done your lining of a room, the top tip Tuesday for this is once it's all dried in the next day, and I use tub paste because I always use the paste that I'm going to be using for the finished paper. That's always a good way to work. Use the paste that you're going to be using. But once I've done all the lining, it's all dried out, I go round the next day with some cork. Now the cork that I use, call it cork, call it mastic, whatever you want to call it. I call it cork. Decorator's cork, water soluble. If you can get the one that's flexible, can be used for interior and exterior use. You've got that little bit of flexibility on it. You don't get any of that crazing and cracking that a lot of people suffer from when they put emulsion over it. But what I do once I've got all my lining done, I go around all the top edge, underneath the bottom edge of the coving. I go around, see there, the angle, top to bottom, just to nip in the angles. I don't know whether you can see any here. Can you see it? Top to bottom there. And also round the top edge of the skirting. I go round the top edge of the skirting. Difficult, I can do it. Top edge of the skirting, I go around with some cork as well. That just nips that bottom edge, the cut edge of the lining paper, gives a nice smooth off edge for under your coving or against the ceiling, down the angles and across the top of the skirting board. And you're going to say, Phil, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Well, one, it does actually leave a nice smooth edge, but when you come to doing your finished paper, when you hang your paper down and you get your straight edge for cutting, it's always nice to have your blade cutting into something soft, i.e. your cork. A lot of people, or back in the day before you had cork, I mean cork's been around 30 odd years now, easily. Back in the day, people used to fill up around the tops of skirtings and down the side of door frames with polyfillers and your powder mix fillers. That's fine until it starts drying out and then it starts bit of a cracking. So if you've painted over it and you say, oh, it looks lovely, and then it dries out, starts cracking, then you put wallpaper on and you cut into that, it goes brittle and it breaks away. So next time you go to a job and you just look at how somebody's done it before, have they used a cork bead edge around the angles, top edge of the paper against the coving or the ceiling, or the top edge of the skirting board? See what they've done, because I find, and everybody will be different, I find that if you put a bit of bead of cork, let that dry off, and corks dry within about what, 20 minutes to an hour, and then when you paint over it, it doesn't craze if you get a flexible exterior interior decorator's cork. And when your blade sinks into it, it's nice to actually cut into it, and you find that it's not cracking and breaking away like somebody going around with a powder polyfiller. Polyfiller is a brand name, isn't it? But you know what, a water and filler mix, you know what I mean. I'm not endorsed by Polyfiller. I'm not being sponsored by anybody. I'm waiting for Porsche to still sponsor me, but that phone call's not happened yet. So no, my top tip Tuesday is when you've done your lining, and a lot of people will probably say, "Oh, I already do know that, Phil." But there's also a lot of people that watch my channel that don't know about painting and decorating, and they're learning. This is the College of Phil Beckwith, shall we say? Yeah, College of Phil Beckwith. So a top tip Tuesday is actually go around your edges with a fine bit of cork. You don't have to put too much on. Just wet your finger so it doesn't stick to your finger, and just smooth it out. You can go around with a bucket of water and a damp cloth if you want, but I find if you go with a bucket of warm water, because you don't want to put your hand in cold water, and a damp rag cloth, sometimes you've been taking off more than what you're putting on. So just wet your finger with your tongue, or just with a bucket of water, and just smooth off the cut. You're not trying to pull it back out or anything like that. You're just trying to get it smooth, and that's what I've done around here. So this is where we are. So if you just want to know about what I'm doing, I'm just waiting for stuff drying. This has all been sprayed with my Grey Koji XFF. I'm waiting for it to dry. Probably a case I'll coat it up tomorrow, let it dry off nicely, and then it can nib anything down if there's any little bits that have gone on the surface. I don't think there is, but that's where we are. Ceilings have been sprayed, and then all the woodworks have been done as well. So I can't really show you much, can I? That's where we are. And then probably next week or something like that, I might be doing my finished wallpapering. But no, my top tip Tuesday today is just go around everything with a bit of cork when you've done your lining. Make it nice and neat. It also just seals that edge in, just in case you get any edge peeling. I don't want to use the word peeling as in coming off, but just where it's sitting against the corner, it might be a little bit. That's the sound I make. A bit loose. Whereas if you put your cork down, it just binds it back in. Can you hear that blower? Hear that blower? I don't have heated hoses. I can't afford heated hoses for my sprayer, so I warm the temperature of the room up. I warm my paint up for spraying, and then it allows me to just reduce my pressure down on me my sprayer. I'm probably spraying it about 1,000, 1,100 if that. That's a 210 tip. It's quite nice with the 210 and running roughly about 1,000 psi. If we got a heated hose, I'd probably be a bit less, but unfortunately I haven't got a couple of grand for heated hoses, and do a spray enough to justify it, probably not. But no, there we are. Top tip Tuesday, cork around all your edges. I've had a waffle. We'll keep it under 10 minutes. See you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.